Okay, so this is once again Monday, and I am recording this right on the heels of that thing that I released yesterday on Friday. So earlier this year of 2025, my wife and I started going. Let me rewind a little bit. I think it was the end of 2024. Anytime I'm working on a story, my mind will start wandering to look for what I want to write next because I'm working on this. So my mind is kind of actively. It's like if you're cooking, you're actively working on the eggs, but as soon as you've got the eggs in a good spot, or I guess the eggs that's a quicker cooking thing. So instead of the eggs, it's more like bacon. You start the bacon because that's going to take a little while. You got the heat on low because you don't want it to burn. You want it to slow cook. So you get the bacon going and you set it onto the back burner. And the bacon's going. I'm using this because this is a thing that my wife and I do on a basically daily basis. We got some sort of meat cooking, sausage, bacon, what have you. And we move that back to a different burner. And then once it's nearing the end of that or midway, 2/3 through the cooking process, then we start the eggs and the stuff that's going to cook quicker so that we've got hot bacon along with eggs and vegetables and whatever else that we're eating. Maybe throw a piece of toast in the toaster oven. So when I'm working on a story and I'm at that place mentally, whether or not I've gotten 2/3 of the way through the story or not, but when I go, okay, I feel 2/3 or better in terms of knowing where the story is going to go and like, okay, I've got this one figured out. All I need to do is write it now. So that's the easy part. Then my mind will inevitably start looking for what's the next thing. Well, that happened when I thought I was good on this Bitcoin story that I'd written and or was working on writing. Come to find out, it was not very good, and I would rewrite it multiple times. And now I'm just letting it simmer in the back of my brain before I go back and do the polishing of it. Well, come the end of 2024, early 2025, my brain started going to look for the next story idea. And I don't know where this idea came from. I truly don't. But I got the idea of a cowboy. It was going to be set in the 1920s, like 1925 ish. And there would be a, a vet of the World War, the First World War. He would have been a Catholic, and he would have. I don't think he was a chaplain, but he was he was connected to the church somehow, and he went to the war, and he saw horrible bloodshed, horrible, just like the worst war that humanity had seen for years. And it changed him, and it really made him question, where is God? And he had this crisis of faith, like, how could a loving God allow something like this to happen? I saw people in trenches, like, they were just horrible bloodshed. And it's not that he just went full on, there is no God. It's just like, how do I reconcile this? What do I do with that? And then um, he would learn about, I forget exactly how this happened, but there was a convent of nuns, and there would be a nun that had a child, and how that came about would be left up to the reader's imagination. I would never spell it out. And so the question would be, was this sort of a virgin birth, kind of like mirroring Mary in the Bible? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's a thing that maybe it was a horrible event that happened to her and she just blocked it out of her mind. Unclear. But she ends up with a child. And this was all going to take place in the Pacific Northwest. And I was like, well, I need a good antagonist. Well, this led me down the path of learning about the KKK. And the KKK, public enemy, like number 2 on their books, was Catholics. They thought that I didn't know this. I thought they just hated black people. Like, I thought that was their main thing. Like, oh, we don't like black people. That was certainly part of it, but that was not as big of a thing. It was a big thing. I'm not trying to dismiss that. It was a part, but it was more of like, we want to keep America America, and any threat to that, whether it's black people or Jews or the Catholic Church, I come to find out that because they thought that like the Pope was like sending Catholics over here and they had their own schools, and so whatever. This is the minimal research that I did learning about the KKK, that they didn't like the Catholic Church. That much is true. And so I thought, okay, well, that's a pretty good antagonist for this. And so they learn about the KKK learns about the this maybe virgin birth, and they're going, well, it doesn't matter what the truth is. People are going to hear about this, and they're going to flock to the convent, and it's going to bring more people to the Catholic faith, and we can't have this. We need to snuff this out, and we got to nip this story in the bud. So they want to go and find this woman and eliminate her, kill her, and the child, just to like shut this whole story down, like get rid of this story. We got to cut it out. We got to control the narrative here. And so she is on the run with the help of this ex-soldier who's going to help her. Well, this is all to say that this led me down the path of, I don't know anything really about the Catholic Church. I grew up Protestant. All I really know or thought I knew is that they worship Mary. Well, that's not true. They don't worship Mary. Mary is seen as it doesn't really matter. She's seen as there's a high place of respect for Mary because she is the mother of God, but it's not like, oh, she is God and we worship Mary. That's not that at all. So my wife and I went to a couple Catholic services. We went to what is called the Novus Ordo, which is kind of the new way of doing things. Didn't like that at all. Went to a couple different Latin masses. Did enjoy that. Thought that was pretty nice. Enjoyed those. But after more looking into Catholicism, we kind of ran into some brick walls, and I talk about this on the channel that is titled Delio Paris. If you want to go and watch that, by all means do so. So I'm not going to get into it here. It doesn't really matter. But eventually this led us down the path of looking into Eastern Orthodoxy, and we have been going to an Eastern Orthodox church since around April. So this is about 6 months now that we've been going. And we enjoy it immensely. And I didn't even know about Eastern Orthodoxy. I didn't know that there were 3 main branches of Christianity. I didn't know that. I thought there was when I grew up as a boy, going to church after church after. I mean, my father and mother could not agree on the type of church that they would like to go to, and so I went to full-on TBS, falling over and crazy and laying on hands and blasting people over. I went to that kind of church, and I went to sitting in pews and reading from hymnals. Like, I went to the full gamut of types of churches on the Protestant side when I was a wee lad, all the way into my early teens, like 12 to 14-ish range. So I've seen it all. There's nothing on the Protestant side that I've gone like, what? That's weird to me. No, any of these clips or anything that I've seen where people, I was like, yeah, I've been to church like that, like of the full gamut. I've been to that kind of Protestant church, that being any of the types, not every type that I've been to, but I've seen the full thing. But I had not seen Catholicism, and that was all I knew about. When I was a boy, I thought there was Protestantism and then this weird offshoot of Catholicism. And they were doing weird, goofy, weird kind of borderline occultish kind of stuff, and yet there was always this kind of mystique about the Catholic Church with the Vatican and the Pope, and like they've got a main guy and these cardinals, and they do have a really cool look, and the Gregorian chant and nuns are neat. Like the whole look of the Catholic Church is admittedly a really neat look. I cannot deny that. I like the sound of Latin. I like the look of the Roman Catholic Church, largely speaking. I do. Like it speaks to me. Well, I never knew anything about Eastern Orthodoxy. Not a thing. Not a thing all the way until like this year. Maybe I'd heard about it in passing, possibly. I don't know. But if somebody asked me what is Eastern Orthodoxy, like I don't know. You tell me, what is that? I wouldn't have been like, oh, it's one of the 3 main branches of Christianity. No, I had no idea. So looking into Roman Catholicism and watching hours and hours and hours of videos and all kinds of different things, and listening to people like Jay Dyer and just all sorts of stuff, I went down this whole rabbit hole, and we decided to go and check out an Eastern Orthodox church, and that's when we decided, okay, yeah, we like this and we want to go. This brings me around to, at now 10 minutes in, what I was talking about yesterday and why I was hesitant about releasing Nobility in Darkness, A Spark of Prayer. Although you can see in that Spark of Prayer, it is much less violent. The good shines through much more clearly. There is a undeniable side of good in that story. And there's a reason I chose the Black Templars as that. I wrote that in the midst of going to this church. And so I was like, if I'm going to write this story, I want to channel the good as best I can in this. And that's exactly what I did there. So you can see the Nobility in Darkness was written by a version of me in 2021 that was not going to church. And the story, A Spark of Prayer, even the name is clearly different, was written by a version of me in 2025 that was going to church. Well, Nobility in Darkness and Desert Stars has darkness in them. They've got a lot of kind of questioning in a way. Certainly Desert Stars. Nobility in Darkness is more of me just kind of exercising. And that's another thing that I was talking about. So on the one hand, I was wondering, should I even release this? Do I want to put this kind of thing out into the world? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I do think that there is a clear line, a delineation. Am I using that word right? Delineation. Define. Delineate. Describe or portray something precisely. Indicate the exact position of a border boundary. Yeah, okay. So there is a clear delineation between where was I going with this? I don't know. Why did I say that? I was talking about good and wondering whether or not I should put this good stuff into the world or the bad stuff, and I don't know. Oh, that's right. I think that there is a very clear delineation between things that are unquestionably bad. Like, this is not doing somebody any favors. Let me give you an example. Let me give you a concrete example. A book like the Dragon whatever stories by Rebecca Yarros. There is no good in those books. I listened to the entirety of the first one and about half of the second one, and you might wonder, why in the world were you listening to this? Well, I've talked about it before because I had the idea, and I still do, of writing a romance. Well, I think you can absolutely write a romance without needing to put in explicit sex. And even if your book does have sex in it, you do not need to be describing in explicit, long, exhaustive detail the acts themselves and parts of the body and in great detail. Like that's just porn. You're just writing pornography at that point. That's unquestionably what that is. Anybody that says otherwise, like, oh no, this is women's lit. No, it's porn. It's porn for women. That there is no anybody that says otherwise is either lying to you or they're ignorant of the truth, which, okay, they should be informed and they should be corrected and they should be educated, but it's porn. Like, it's just full stop, porn. I've never read, have zero interest in reading 50 Shades of Grey, but I think that's more porn from what I understand about it anyways. You can absolutely have a romance, a good story. Like, there is romance, unquestionably so, in Lord of the Rings, but there's no porn in Lord of the Rings. Anybody that says Lord of the Rings is porn in like a pornographic, erotic, titillating, lustful sense of the word would be just wrong. You could say it's like when people say, oh, it's food porn, or, oh, this is car porn. Like, oh, look at these cool cars. Like, oh, okay, look, it's seagull porn, the best seagulls you've ever seen. Like, not like Rule 34 porn, but like, whoa, look at these amazing pictures of these birds. That's so well done. The photography is national, even beyond National Geographic level. This is so good. These seagulls, like, okay, sure, cool. Like, all right. My wife and I watched a movie called Listers about two brothers that go around the country looking at birds and doing bird watching. Great movie. It's free on YouTube. It's really good. Like you can watch it in increased speed. I highly recommend it. It was funny, informative, just a fun watch. 2 hours. Watch it in 1.3, 1.5 speed. You'll be through it in whatever that time reduction is, hour and a half. You'll be wow. I didn't know about that. I did not know that bird watching was like that, but it's like with anything at all. The more you look into it, you go, holy crap, there is so much depth to this thing. Doesn't matter what it is. I could pick up anything on my desk, and I promise you, there's a rabbit hole that goes so much deeper than you could ever even possibly initially think about. Like ceramics, coffee cups, holy moly, I don't even want to consider how deep that one goes. Photography, the lens cap of this for the lens, forget about it. Days and days. Pens, writing instruments, each one of these things represents a lifetime of that you could be spending looking into this stuff. Well, in a weird way, unintentionally, that brings me around to a segue where I'm at, and I kind of touched on this, the last 5 years has been weird. Well, the last 5 years has been very eye-opening. I'll tell you what. I have never questioned things as much in the past 5 years as I have. I've never questioned things as much in my entire life as I have in the past 5 years. And it is a feeling of being unmoored and not knowing what in the world I am supposed to do now with certain pieces of information. And it all began in 2020. Maybe you remember what happened to the world in 2020. Kind of a big thing. Kind of took the entire news cycle completely and utterly over. Well, we were told X, and as time went on, it seemed like maybe X was not all it was cracked up to be. Maybe X was not X at all. Maybe it was like 3 squirrels on a pine tree. Like not even Y or B or 1, 2, 3. It's like nebulas within a flute pipe. Like it's just like not that at all. And so when you are confronted with this, you either watch the CNN and the MSNBC and you go, yeah, okay, that's what you said, and I'm going to do what you tell me to do. Okay. And that's an easy way to live. Hey, I will admit, that's a simple way to live. You just normie on through your life and okay, cool. Or you can go, maybe I'm going to look at this other information and kind of weigh that and go, I don't know, maybe, and look at this and put a little of your own personal experience in there and your own personal experience in there. And be like, well, what I've experienced and what I've seen and what I've been around kind of matches a little bit more with this one, oddly enough, even though this is the one I'm being told isn't true. Don't believe my lying eyes, huh? Okay. So 2020 was kind of the beginning of that. And then when did let me ask Google here, when was GME in the news? January 21. It was all right around there. January of 2021. So that was a big thing. And that's when I started paying attention to money. Oh, whoa. Talk about a rabbit hole. There is nothing on this planet that money doesn't touch. Money is literally, I know what that word means. I am one of I am in the small minority that uses that word correctly. I use it incorrectly too, but when I use it correctly, I know what I'm doing. Money connects to everything. And it is literally, and the reason it connects to everything is because money is literally your time and energy in abstracted, commodified form. You cannot take minutes off of a clock and give them to somebody, but you can use the minutes that you have and the energy that you have within those minutes to do something, and that will net you some dollars. Usually, the way it works, at least in the United States, and every job that I've had, aside from a couple, has been I go in, give somebody a certain amount of time and energy, and that is valued to them at a certain dollar amount, which is silly to think that my time and energy has a dollar value attached to it. But okay. And then after 2 weeks, like I said, aside from a couple instances where I got paid weekly, I get a sum of that after taxes are taken out because, hey, the government that I live in says, well, your time and energy is because you live in this society, we get a take of that. Okay, there's arguments to be made for and against that, but whatever, that's what happens, whether I like it or not. And then I have the rest of that, the gross that's left there, and then I do what I do with that time and energy in commodified, spendable form. I pay the bills that I get, I pay for rent, I pay for food, I pay for gas in the car, I do all these things. Time and energy is what we have. We all have this. But we can't trade time and energy, so we trade this thing that we call money. Or, as people usually mean when they're talking about money, your local currency. Currency and money is not the same thing. Currency is always money, but money is not always currency. Let me say that again. Currency, the USD, ruples, pesos, those are all currencies. They are local to an area. You might have Chuck E. Cheese tokens. That is the currency of the Chuck E. Cheese prize counter. You might use washing machine tokens at the laundromat. That is the currency of that particular place. You might use gems in this game and 3 triple-dollar bills in that game and fun bucks in this game. Those are the currencies of those games. You see what I'm saying? Those are all monies. But money is not always a currency because money could be this. Wait a second. Hang on, Del. How could money be that coffee cup? Because I used my time and energy to get some dollars. Let's pretend these Post-it notes are dollars. I used my time and energy. This is a clock for your imagination. And that led to this. And I got that. And then I traded that for this. So my time and energy became this. So now a certain point of time and energy is locked in this. And it's probably losing value. I don't know how much I spent on this. Or my wife, let's say it was $3 at a garage sale or at a thrift store. Almost certainly that's where we got it. I'm like 99% sure this came from a Goodwill. So it's probably $2. Can I go and sell this for $2? Maybe. But for me to actually get the $2, it would take more time and energy for me to go and list it somewhere and put it online. And maybe I put it on eBay and I say, oh, it's a Project 62 porcelain dishwasher safe, made in Indonesia. I don't know, maybe Project 62 cups for all I know. Maybe I go and look and it's, those are worth $12. Like, I'd be dumbfounded if this is a $50 mug. I probably would be lucky on eBay to get more than $1 for it. And then I've got to pay for the shipping to send it to the person in Oregon that buys it because he needs a coffee cup because he's been looking for a black coffee cup, or maybe he had a Project 52 one or 62, whatever. But he was working on a project in his garage when he was transforming his time and energy into wood projects that he goes and takes to his farmer's market to sell. And he was going to sand something. He moved his hand a little bit too quick and he knocked his favorite mug down. So now he's gone and looked and he remembers there was a Project 62. Well, he doesn't remember because his memory's not all that good. He's a little bit older. That's just why he's got this hobby project that he does. But he had the bottom piece and he could see that it said Project 62. So he went on eBay and looking for it and he saw that I was selling this for $1.50 and I've got free shipping on there. So he goes and he buys it with his money that he makes from selling his little wood projects at the farmer's market. And he sends me that he's transformed his time and energy. You see what I'm saying here? This is money. This is money. Your Pokemon cards, your Magic cards, your car, your entire house, where you live, your clothing is time and energy commodified into something that you can trade for something else. Whether or not you can easily find somebody to trade with is a whole nother subject, but it is money. Talk about a rabbit hole. Money is a crazy, crazy rabbit hole. And it has led me to finding Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is this goofy thing. Right now, it's at a price of $110,930, and this has to go up. It has to. It has to, it has to, it has to. Oh, it goes down, Dal. Wasn't it just at 125,000 just a few days ago, like last 2 weeks ago? And then did it drop down to about 100,000 there during a flash crash and all that? I kind of heard about that. It did. Yeah, in the short term, that's exactly what happens. But in the long term, I'm sure you've seen the charts if you've paid attention. You've been terminally online like so many people. Look, this is what it does in the long term. Here's 5 years. Here's 5 years. Up 796%. Max, it's up 24,000%. Went from trading at nothing, then being sold for a couple of pizzas, and now topped out at, what is that right there? 120. No, it's not accurate. 122, whatever, in the last 6 months. Yeah, 124, 125 there for a little bit. Okay, why am I mentioning this? Why does it have to go up? It has to go up because it has a finite supply. It'd be like being told there will only ever be 5 of this special, super ultra rare, shiny foil, triple hole punched Charizard signed by somebody. Okay, so what? Well, the so what is that everybody in the world needs a good money, needs the best money. I'm not going to get into this too much right here. Point that I'm making, and the main point that I'm trying to make, is that money connects to everything. And so when you start going down that rabbit hole, it connects to everything. Everything is a lot of stuff. And it makes you start ask questions. Starts making you ask questions. You start asking questions and you go, well, if that thing in 2020 wasn't true and what I thought about money wasn't true and money connects to literally everything, what else isn't true? What else was I lied to about or misinformed? Because I don't think everybody out there that tells you something is doing it from a malicious standpoint. I think a lot of people hear something and they repeat it and then they repeat it and then that becomes the repeated thing and then it becomes, like in 1984, just the thing. And then people go like, well, why would you question that? That's what everybody else has said. It's like, yeah, it's true. That is what everybody else is saying. And that, hey, that's worth something for sure. I don't know what it's worth. It might be worth 3 squirrel turds and a fart, but it's worth something. Something. Is it worth me holding near and dear to my mind as the God's given truth? I don't know. I don't know. Not sure. So I've gone and looking at various things, and I don't know. I do not know what to believe about the world at this point. I've looked into some stuff in the past couple of days, actually, just like past on the 18th, 19th, now the 20th or so, that deal with subjects. How much do I want to say about this? That deal with subjects that even 6 months ago, even a month ago, I would have gone, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know. I'm just asking questions right now. I don't know what to think. I really hope that anybody that watches this does not walk away from it going, well, that guy really has his mind made up and he's really set in his ways and there's really no getting through to him. There are some things that I do hold extremely near and dear to what I would consider being the God's given truth. Here's one of them. Christianity has been around for 2,000 years. There's a reason for that. And in places that follow guidelines for how to live, that point to improving yourself and the community and those around you, it's had some pretty good results. And I know that there will be people that point to exceptions to that and misuses and abuses. And yes, humans are a fallen people and they do make mistakes. And sometimes they are malicious and ill-willed. But largely, from what I can tell, Christianity has been a boon to this planet. And so I do think, even from just the 6 months that my wife and I have been going, that our journey down the Eastern Orthodox path has been a net positive, unquestionably so. I see myself being more patient and kinder and understanding with my wife, and those are all wonderful things. So there isn't any question in my mind at this point that having some sort of higher ideal and aiming yourself toward that and doing your best to continually strive in that particular direction, there's no question in my mind that that is a good pursuit. And I was going to say one of the biggest, I don't know if it's one of the biggest, but certainly a benefit. Don't know really how to categorize it. But one of the major benefits of going to church weekly is it's a reorientation. It's a reminder. It kind of syncs you up back with where you're aiming to be, assuming that's what you're aiming to be and what you want to be. The biggest thing that bothers me about going to church is that I can't go more. And that we don't live closer because we live about 30 miles away. It's nearly an hour-ish drive depending on traffic. It's not quite an hour. It's more like 40-ish, 40 minutes drive. When it's a smooth drive, it's a pretty smooth drive, but it's still a good chunk of time. And like yesterday when we went, it was rainy and it wasn't a great drive, and people kept on getting right on my butt, and so that was a little bit frustrating. And I was thinking about that. I was like, this is an interesting test here. I've got people that are like really trying to get me to go faster. I mean, at points I was going 85 miles an hour, which isn't like crazy. Oh my goodness, well, look at you, Fast and the Furious, Vin Diesel, where's your family? But it's still pretty quick, especially when the speed limit is 60 miles an hour. So I'm going 15 over. No, sorry, 25 over. But that's what traffic was doing. If I wanted to go 60 miles an hour, I'd have to be all the way in the far right lane and just like piddling along like a little old granny, and people are like honking their horns and zooming by me at 15 to 20 miles faster, 25 miles faster. So I am hoping that in the coming year, when my wife and I move from where we're at now, we will be able to get to a place that is much closer. That is our aim. Where does that leave the channel and with what I'm going to be doing? Well, it ties directly into something that I'm going to be doing. But as far as things like the Warhammer stuff, I'm not going to be doing more of it, that's for sure. I'm okay with leaving it up. I don't have an issue with it. If somebody from the church were to ask me about it, or they were to find this, and like I'm not hiding it. I'm not hiding it at all. I'd love for people to find my work and give me comments and tell me how I could improve. But if somebody were to like the priest from the church, if he were to say, it's probably not a good thing for that to be up and putting that kind of thing into the world. I listened to a section of it, and it's pretty dark. I would, as your kind of spiritual spiritual father, would request that you take it down. I would honor that request. And I might even ask somebody, like, what do you think about this in time? But I would make a video explaining my reasons behind taking it down. But right now I'm kind of on the fence. Like I could see it going both ways. There's not a part of me that is saying you should definitely take that down. There are certainly things that I have written that I wouldn't put up, and I go, I'm not really proud of that, and that's not the kind of thing I want to put out into the world. And then there's other things that I think are totally fine that I've written. There's stuff that is just, it's a story about a young man nervous about asking a girl out on a date or something. It's like, okay, it's whatever. It's a typical human experience. The Bitcoin story that I wrote, it has some swear words in it, but it's got some things that people might not think is great, but it's not a dark story. It's actually a good story about somebody learning how to be a better person in multiple ways. I can't stress how strange life is to me these days. I'm glad that I have the background that I have. Where is it? Where is it? Wallpapers. Where are my wallpapers? Personalize. Browse. Storage. D drive. Wallpapers. D. Wallpapers. There it is. That's my background on my computer. It's a good reminder. You have less time than you think you do. I have less time than I think I do. You've only got so much time and energy. Use it wisely.